next story is produced with the help of the Hawaii Nature Conservancy. Sam Gon is their senior scientist and Hawaiian cultural advisor, and he recently took us on a trip to the Waimano Trail to see firsthand the effects of alien species on Hawaii's native forest.
Aloha kako! I'm Sam Ohukani Ohi Agan, and it's a beautiful morning here above Pu'uloa, otherwise known as Pearl Harbor. And we are on the Waimano Trail, above the hustle and bustle of Honolulu. And I'm so glad to be able to take you folks up this trail into some native forest. People look up into the forest behind Honolulu and they just see the greenery, and they don't realize that at the lower elevations of that forest it's almost entirely non-native plants. Ironwoods from Australia, eucalyptus also from there, Formosan koa from Taiwan. You actually have to go hiking quite a ways up the ridge before you start to see the native plants, and that's because of a history of disturbance and invasion by non-native species. But here, in the midst of this non-native vegetation, is akia. This is a native plant, a really important one to ancient Hawaiians. The roots of this plant contain a toxin, and so when the roots are gathered, taken down to the tide pools and beaten in the water, small fish will be stunned by these toxins and come up. It was one of the fishing methods that was used. They're temporarily stunned by the toxins in the root. When a Hawaiian finds himself or herself up in the mountains, down at the sea, anywhere in the natural world, they don't think of themselves as separated from that world. Hawaiians are integrated into the natural world around them. The trees, the plants, the birds, even the rocks and the clouds and the sky are all part of the framework of ancestors and ancestral spirits that surround us continually in Hawaii. So even if I was hiking up here alone, which is not a good thing to do, but even if I was up here alone, I'd actually be surrounded by thousands of the manifestations of Hawaiian gods and goddesses, and I wouldn't feel alone or neglected. And this is a young koa tree. Koa is another of the dominant trees in Hawaiian forests, and its wood is famous, beautiful and hard. It's used by artisans, and the leaves of the koa are not really leaves at all. They're actually specially adapted flattened stems. And so when you look at the foliage of the koa, there aren't any prominent veins on it. You can compare that with eucalyptus that a lot of people confuse the leaves of koa with, and you can see a prominent vein going down the middle of the eucalyptus leaf. The true leaf of the koa is actually a compound leaf. And so in this branch, you can see both the true leaf and the flattened stem. As the koa matures, this is a young tree, the stem of the leaf gets wider and wider and starts taking on that flattened look of the mature foliage. You really have to go through a lot of non-native plants sometimes in order to find anything native in this lower forest zone. People in Honolulu look up into the mountains and it seems to be green and healthy, but in reality, unless we do something to encourage the native plants, non-native trees like these ironwoods can come in and make it 100% non-native. Then it wouldn't be a Hawaiian forest anymore. Down here we have a little remnant, a little pala'a fern that is able to survive under this alien dominance. You get to a point on these trails where you feel you're at the division between the Waukanaka, which is the realm of people, and the Wauakua, which is the realm of the gods. In ancient Hawaii, there was this dichotomy of the universe, into a place where people belong, into a place where the gods belong. And the upper native forest is that wawakua. In order to mark the transition between leaving that realm of people and entering into the wawakua, this is where I typically prepare a little ho'okupu, which is a little offering, and also offer an oli, a chant of forest entry. I brought these tea leaves from home. La'i, the leaf of the tea, is considered a symbol of purity, and for me it symbolizes the fact that I enter the forest today with good intentions and with proper protocol. And so a lei of tea leaf is an indication that I enter the forest with good intent. My intention today is to find a particular shrub whose wood is used in various ceremonies. My favorite forest entry chant is called Kaukahalia. It means the memory that comes upon you unbidden. The memory comes unbidden in the time that I should be sleeping, but you awaken me. You are halaulani and hawahuakale, and with the voices of birds you awaken me, birds of the upland ridges. And so I must be with you again, Laka, on those ridges and in those uplands, and I have returned. It harkens to a time when you awake in the middle of your sleep with the sound of birds, and you, spiritually, were in the upland forest. And that's a sign to you that it's time for you to return to the wawakua for some purpose. Here's the plant that I'm interested in today. This is the pukiave. Pukiave is a shrub of the dry forest of Hawaii. It grows from low elevation all the way up to 10,000 feet. But the wood of the pukiave is what I'm interested in. The wood of the pukiave is used in various ceremonies. This dead branch of the pukiave looks like it's just right for my needs. Now, even though there's a lot more pukiave wood here, protocol demands that not too much be taken from any single plant. That way you avoid damaging the plant, and you also leave resources for the future. Now we're in a section of forest that's entirely dominated by strawberry guava. This is the yellow form of the strawberry guava, or waivi. It was brought into the Hawaiian Islands in the 1800s and has spread uncontrolled through our forests, so that in sections of forest like this, there is nothing but strawberry guava, and we lose all of the rich cultural resources that native forest represents. That's another reason why it's so important to fill out that agricultural declaration form that they hand out on the airplane on your way to Hawaii. The conservation ethic in ancient Hawaii was an ethic of practicality. It was very clear to Hawaiians that plants are living, growing things, and that if you take too much from any one plant, it's going to hurt that plant, and that plant's not going to be able to provide for you in the future. Even the land itself was recognized as a series of zones, from the tops of the mountains down into lower, drier zones, all the way down to the seashore, and finally into the ocean. And so each of those zones provided different kinds of plants and animals, and Hawaiians knew the names of all of these resources as well as what their needs were. They knew that caring for both the mountain and the sea was the best way to care for human society as a whole. Here's Iliahi, the Hawaiian sandalwood. This is a plant that plays prominently in both Hawaiian history and the history of the devastation of a lot of our lowland forest systems here. Iliahi, of course, has an extremely fragrant heartwood, and so it was one of the first cash crops when Hawaii encountered Western civilization. Hawaiians were sent up into the mountains to gather the wood of the sandalwood, and it was used in trade by the ruling monarchs of Hawaii for all kinds of purposes. Material, trade, investments in buildings and the like, building some of the infrastructure of the Hawaiian kingdom. A lot of people think that Iliahi went extinct because of overharvesting, but of course this young individual here indicates that that's not true at all. In fact, you can still find even some large sandalwoods, and we'll see some later on this trail. Now we're standing underneath a beautiful ohia lehua in full bloom. Ohia is the dominant tree of the Hawaiian wet forest. It's also the tree that's sacred to both Pele and Laka, and also an embodiment of the Hawaiian god Ku. Ku is one of the four main Hawaiian deities. Ku, Kane, Lono, Kanaloa. Ku is thought of as the god of war, the god of governance, but he's also the god of politics, the god of persistence, the god of upright, permanent things like trees, and therefore the ohia lehua is the sacred symbol of Ku in the forest. Ku is thought of as a forest god. The wife of Ku is Hina. Ku is vertical, and Hina, to balance that, is horizontal. So this uluhe fern that forms a horizontal carpet under the feet of Ku is Hina. In Puna, on the island of Hawaii, they tell a story about Hina ka uluhe nui hihi koloiuka, which means Hina, the great tangled billows of uluhe fern crawling in the uplands. And if you enter forest with ill intent or with improper protocol, Hina ka uluhe nui hihi koloiuka is supposed to surround you and prevent your return. Well, as we head back to civilization again, I want to end with a few tips on hiking in our mountains. You should do all of the things that it's logical to do. Common sense tells you bring good foot gear, a hat, rain gear if necessary, bring plenty of water, make sure you bring a cell phone. We've got great reception here, and also make sure you tell a friend or two where you're going, what trail you're on. For information on hiking trails, there are a number of good books, and there are also some online websites that describe trails in fair amount of detail. You can also go to the Hawaii Trail and Mountain Club and the Sierra Club for information on most of Hawaii's hiking trails. For information on conservation and taking care of the land in Hawaii, I suggest you go to the Nature Conservancy's website. We've got a strong presence here in Hawaii. That would be nature.org. So mahalo for joining me on the trail here on Waimano, and we'll see you later. Aloha.